So now we have data inside our databases. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to click this lookup contact by clicking on the little contact icon, and it allows me to do a single search. Now, this single search is great because it's actually skipping past all of the layouts that I have, and it is going to look for anyone that meets that criteria. In this case, it's going to be my contact card. So I'm going to click into this contact card, and we're going to go ahead and get started looking at this. Now, this is pretty standard to what most CRMs are going to have, but there are a lot of really small things that are going to make SAM stand out that we're going to draw attention to. So first name, last name, company, street address, phone numbers, all pretty standard. Now, one thing that's worth noting is you can click this little icon to the right, and they are going to have a drop down. You can add additional numbers. You could also go in and you could edit any of the numbers. You could add them to a do not call list. You can include any notes as to why you've added this. And you can also, in the specific phone number, label whether it's the primary, whether it's the home, whatever it is. It's super customizable to what you need. The same goes for your email addresses. You have the ability to click a drop down as well as send unsubscribes. Now, the other thing that you can do is you could click on the actual icon and you can choose whether you want to send them a SMS message, whether you want it to dial, if you have your Twilio set up, as well as add to a call list, which will drive them to the calendar. We'll look at that a little bit later. And then the same goes for the email. You can actually send an email, or you can view all of the emails that you've ever sent to them by clicking this. And because I am using Google, it's actually going to pull up my Google inbox. It's going to filter for that specific email address, and it's going to allow me to see any emails that have gone through that. So that's a really easy way for Sam just to help us look at that data, focus on that data. Now, past that, categories are pretty common in real estate. Your A categories are the folks that are probably going to get a gift for Christmas. The D categories are like the friends of a friend who had a barber, who went to an event, who met a guy, who knew a guy, who talked to a guy. Kind of garbage contacts, but we still have their information, and maybe we can work to build them into C contacts and B contacts, and then finally A contacts. And that happens all the time. So from there, you have your types. You have your status, you have your milestone, you have relationship status, you have your source, where they came from. All of this stuff was what we had in our email leads to Sam, and those get pre-filled out. Now, here is the two fields that I want to really draw attention to. Inside of Sam, we have the ability to use AI to help us in a lot of capacities, but at Workflow Secrets, we have this idea on our coaching side called a world-class client experience. This is an idea that Mark has championed in his coaching. And world-class client experiences allow you to show up as the excellent business professional that you are in ways that are going to make such a memorable impact that people can't help but want to work with you, can't help but want to send people to you. So that's the ultimate goal. And what we can do using these two fields is start to personalize these messages to the actual recipient. So instead of us sending a message that's written in our voice and we're just like sending it to them, we're actually building messages. They're written in our voice, but they're crafted specifically for that person. So hopefully that makes sense. And I'm going to show you exactly how we do that. It is done through their contact preference. Now, I like to say I'm a millennial. Don't call me. And I'm being a little fictitious. I'm being a little funny there, but it's kind of true, right? I probably prefer email or SMS. Now, when I indicate that inside of Sam, what Sam will be able to do is anytime a message is going out to someone, say my preference is email, it can actually convert that message into an email. Or maybe my preference is SMS. Anytime I was sending out a message that was written as an email, Sam can actually convert that into an SMS and send it to me in an SMS native way. So that's how we're able to customize that experience. We'll actually look at what that looks like a little bit later. And the other area that it can do that is through the language we speak. I talk to you guys about our good friend in Texas. Well, one of the things about his business specifically is that they work with individuals in Texas as well as in Mexico. And so there is not only a native English speaking, but there's also a native Spanish speaking clientele that he works with. So being able to set up the specific language that they prefer allows Sam to translate messages as it's being sent out into that preferred language. How cool is that? This is how we drive that personal world-class client experience. So in selecting the specific language that they prefer, it can also help do that. Now, under that, we have access to our tags. You can add tags. You can actually go in here and you can search for tags. You can add, build tags. We have important dates, and the important dates are what we actually trigger our automations on. When workflow automations came into the industry, just based on what I remember about Mark working on. Now, I remember being a child in his basement and looking at the marker board that was on the wall that I actually now use all the time, which is kind of full circle for me. And I remember being a kid. I wasn't really a kid. I was in high school, but he was explaining to me this idea of workflow automations, and it right over my head. Didn't make sense to me at all. But essentially, a workflow automation is a series of tasks that we have identified and that we have built into our software to go sequentially from one to the next in some sort of cadence or some sort of timeline. So maybe one day after it'll do this, one day after it'll do this, right? Workflow automations. Now, that is a really great way of building out these automations, and it's how they've done it for years and years. But using important dates is actually completely rethinking about workflow automations, because instead of asking you to eat the entire elephant all at once, which on the extreme, I've heard of agents who have like 170 step workflow automations, and that's one single automation. We now are able to look at specific important dates. Each of these specific important dates is going to have its own small automation associated to it. So what that means is if I learn your birthday, I can add it right here. When I add your birthday and I have a routine built out, which is our modern workflow automation, we're going to dive into that a little bit later. You're going to learn all about them and how we can build them. But when I fill in that birthday and I have that birthday automation, boom, that birthday automation immediately starts. I didn't have to go and start it manually. I didn't have to do anything other than build out the process by thinking about, man, what is a really great experience I could give someone on their birthday? And then I allowed it to work. So this is a really cool way for us to rethink automations. This is me just giving you a little bit of a touch into it so that we can revisit this idea a little bit later. Now, outside of that, you can look at your calendar to see all of the different things that have gone out. We have agreements to look at all of the different agreements. You can keep track of social links. You can write notes. You can also have connections. Now, this is one of the things that Mark is most excited about, because connections is a way for us to connect different contacts. You can add a connection on the right-hand side, and all you have to do is select a specific contact, and then you identify what is their connection to you. Under that, the reciprocal, I'm his son, and I could add any notes. I could click if it was a referral, but this is a way for us to build those connections. And the really cool part is I can click on this connection and it'll take me to that specific contact card. Oh, and by the way, in his connection section, there's my information. We can do checklists. We'll talk about that while we're talking about those routines. You can add files, external docs, which is a way for you to take URLs that you frequently use and add those so that you have the ability to do that. Now, when you build out your external docs, you can actually build custom merge fields that are pulling from URLs, and we can do some really cool stuff there. I have an entire training on building out a world-class client experience for your post-sale clients. I'll throw that up right here. But essentially, what we're able to do when we do something like that is we are able to gather all types of URLs for specific products that a person might need after the sale. And then we can build out a routine that will send them recurring messages reminding them, hey, you need to change your air filter. Here's the specific one you need. It's going to pull that URL and they're going to have access to it. Now, the kicker there is if you do it right, you can get an affiliate account set up and you get a couple extra bucks in commissions. That's pretty cool. We can also do for different search preferences, meeting locations, favorites. But then the two things that I want to draw attention to are these personal details as well as these priorities. Now, personal details are your likes, your dislikes, goals, hobbies, whatever details you learn about a person. Something I've learned about real estate agents is you guys all the time are talking and learning about people, which is really great. And you take all of those details and you throw them in your CRMs. But remember how I was talking about they just hold on to information. So you're probably taking all of those details that you worked really hard to learn about someone. You're putting it in your CRM. You're doing the right things. And your CRM is just going to hold on to it. It's hidden behind 3 drop downs. It's never going to do anything. Well, the power in SAM is SAM can actually look at those personal details, can look at those priorities, and it can use those to help you craft custom messages specifically for that person. So let's go ahead and let's take this full circle and let's look at these personal details. So maybe something about me that I would like you to know is that I love coffee. In fact, the darker the roast, the better. I grind my own beans and I drink 2 to 3 cups of coffee each day, black on Sundays. What a weird personal detail, but that's a great example. It's a fun fact that you learned about someone. So we take this personal detail. Let's go ahead and click this send email, and you would have the ability to send a one-off message. Now you could go, good evening, Cody, and you could write that out yourself, but I'm actually going to let Sam do this. So I'm going to click this let Sam create content, and this is going to be where the magic inside Sam happens. And I'm going to tease this little feature for you guys because it's one of the cool things about the contact database. I'm going to send a birthday message to this contact using the personal details section to make the message feel special for them. Leave it at that. So something really simple. What is my overall goal? What do I want this message to accomplish? I want them to get a birthday message and use the personal details. So I called attention to that. And now Sam in literal seconds has a message written for me. Is it ready to hit send? No. Spend a couple minutes editing, right? But also enjoy the day. Remember to indulge in your favorite coffee. After all, a good cup is perfect. Companion to celebrate another year of life. Boom. How cool is that? Sam was able to take that personal detail and create a one-off message for me specifically about that. Now, the priorities would be, what are the things that they're looking for in a property? Maybe I'm looking for a 4-bed, 6-bath. I know that's not true. That's kind of a funny thing, right? A fenced in backyard and a salt water pool. That's what I could be looking for. Sam could use those priorities. But just like in the setup, we were sharing details about us. In the contact, we can share details about them. And Sam's going to be able to learn about that. So this is the power in the contacts section of SAM for us to actually understand and use the AI component to help us build out a better world-class client experience.